Check 1, 2. Deep Ellum on air.
Right, you're on mute.
Deep Ellum on air.
It's time to really get our party on now.
Welcome to episode 1 of Legalized Texas. Draw from that name anything that you wish. We will be covering the issues from a counterculture standpoint. I will be your host, Pugs Moran. Also, with me today and joining me throughout the course of this show, the likes of Jedi Jansen, founder of Deep Ellum on Air. Hi, Jedi. How are you?
What is up, my friend?
Welcome to episode 1 of Legalized Texas.
I'm stoked, man.
Jimmy Ryan is also with us. Jimmy Ryan, who you may remember from the old Jagger show from the 105.3 days, as well as his work right here at Deep Ellum on Air. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
Doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing fine. And, of course, Chief Chaz, who will be my ongoing co-host as we push this show forward. Co-host and sort of, you would be the executive consultant on the issues, the counterculture issues at hand. Chief Chaz, how are you, Chief?
Doing great. How you doing, Pug?
I'm doing fine. I'd like to take a moment here at the start of episode 1 to kind of talk just a little bit about what it is that this show aims to do. And, well, you could probably guess from the title, Legalized Texas, that one of our aims is to
get married, all of us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is one. Well, gay marriage is certainly something that I would like to see legalized. I don't have a problem with that. But I think more to the point, what Legalized Texas is about the putting an end to the barbaric prohibition that has befallen our fine American marijuana growers. And that is, of course, the evil bud, the weed, Satan's weed, legalization of marijuana, and all of the things that go into that.
It's a good thing that that is what we're trying to legalize, because if we were actually trying to look like gay men,
yeah,
especially Pugs right now, looks the least gay of them all. He almost looks like he's supposed to be like in the middle of Brooklyn holding somebody up.
I look homeless. Is what I look like. And I did that because I had this big, long, sort of philosophical rant that I wanted to do to open this episode 1 of Legalized Texas here on Deep Ellum on Air. And I put up what I called my privacy hood, because I'm sitting directly across from two people that I desperately didn't want to make eye contact with, didn't want to be distracted by. So I did. I went full metal homeless speaking in tongues guy for this little opening segment here.
You didn't want to make eye contact with us?
No. Well, I think that there's a much bigger issue here, and I want to talk about what this show. Well, Jimmy Ryan, why don't you tell me what you hope this show is and what this show will become? We'll be doing it frequently. I'm not going to say we're going to do it every day, but we're going to try and do it with some consistency. We're going to chart and follow the progress of legalization as it stands today, tomorrow, and the next here in the state of Texas. We're also going to cover issues happening in other areas as they concern the legalization movement. This, of course, all spurred on, I think, by the shocking a result of the elections in November in both the state of Washington and Oregon, who essentially those are now Amsterdams. Those are now states that completely allow legalization. And we believe here on this show that is something that Texas shouldn't lag behind on.
Absolutely.
One of the things that people always say is when you have casual conversations about the state of legalization here in Texas is that you'll always get someone who is quick to say, oh, well, Texas will be the last to ever do that. All them Bible-thumping blue hairs. And I just think to myself, boy, the one thing that I've known living here in Texas now for 12 years is that if you want to get something done, tell a Texan they can't do it. You tell a bunch of Texans that they'll be the last to legalize marijuana of all the 50 states, and you'll get it done in the next election cycle. I promise you that. Nothing a Texan likes worse than being told something.
Yeah, Texas will do things in spite of the other states.
The rebel spirit.
Yeah, so I do think that there's a good chance, and I think that that's one of the other reasons why I was kind of excited about you wanting to do this type of a show, is because the first thing that I heard was the night of the election. My uncle lives in New York, and there was already talk about how they were going to be decriminalizing, essentially in the New York area. And then he was talking about how Texas, you would think that they would, be onto this legalizing thing, but that they would, just like you said, be the last state of them all to actually do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I think that you might actually have the wrong idea of the average person in at least the populated areas of Texas.
As a Texan, I am tired And yes, I identify myself as a Texan. I believe the rule when I first moved here was you have to be 10 years in, check, lived here for 10 years. But I also have a child in the ground here in Texas, and I have another natural born little Texas boy so I'm in.
Yeah,
okay?
I'd say that counts.
I'm not moving. This is where I've settled, I've homesteaded.
Call this place
is
home.
where I am. So I call this home. So I will heretofore identify myself
You have
as a
cowboy
Texan.
hat, though?
I do not have a cowboy hat. I do not ride a horse. I do not I chew tobacco. That's got to be worth something,
counts.
right?
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things that is endearing and interesting to outsiders about the Texas spirit is not so much George W. Bush or Rick Perry, but Willie Nelson and Stevie Ray Vaughan and who else? Who am I missing? Well, Julian Castro, a guy like that. A guy like Julian Castro, the mayor of San Antonio. Kinky Friedman. These people who are sort of outside of what has been determined to be the mainstream and are willing to change things just because, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
They speak out.
I can't believe you didn't name Ron Paul.
Ron Paul. Well, yeah, Ron Paul, right. Another one of these guys. I'm not a big Ron Paul supporter, but I'm sure that Ron Paul and I have a lot of things in common. But I didn't name him because I don't identify him as the quintessential Texan. The way I do.
Well, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant pro legalization.
No, I was just talking about people always assume that we're a bunch of Bible thumping blue hairs down here.
I got you.
But the truth is that there's literally no middle ground here. So we just do the polar opposites of each other, and
I think
get
there's,
along.
and I think you're wrong on that, Jimmy. I think what we have here is a massive silent middle ground. A middle ground who does a lot of following just to fit in because they don't want the headache. But
Sure.
if given a reasonable opportunity to maybe switch allegiance or say something, and that's the other thing. We're all too silent about things that we think are bullshit. That's one of the things that I think is starting to change here in society, is that we have finally, for the first time in a decade or two, become a society that isn't afraid to speak up, and we have new media to thank for that. We have things like the Twitter and the internets and the interwebs and Facebook. All of these things have created real serious change in the way generations view the outlook on change. My generation, the slacker generation, we were called the slackers because honestly, we didn't see any way out of the machine. The machine was the only way to go. It was the only way to be happy. It was what society said was the barometer for success, and we didn't see any way around that. Get in line, wait for your middle management job, wear your tie to work, and put a kid through college. That was it. That was the slacker generation. Then boom, the next couple of generations come around. Suddenly the interwebs are going crazy. Now today we've got social networking. We've got all kinds of ways.
We've shown you what real slacking is.
Yeah, you've shown us what real slacking is, but you've also been able to see. Yes, you have. You've now been able to attend meetings and organize things from your couch.
Yep.
That's what you people have
Taking
done.
slacking to a new level.
Yeah.
Congratulations, everybody.
No, well, you joke about that, Jimmy Ryan, but I'm actually, it is one of the things, people can look at society as a whole and find all of these problems that are depressing and sad. But I think that the coming generations, I think the current generation, I even think your generation has done a lot more than my generation did. And I think you've done, we have change all over the world. I'm tired of people citing the Arab Spring ad nauseum and the revolts over the economy in Greece and Europe and all of these things and the Occupy movements here in America. I'm tired of all that. The real movements are taking place online. The real movements are taking place, on your iPhone. That's where the real movements are taking place.
Do you think that if online media wasn't as big, or let's just say as being online wasn't as big as it was, would we have legalization in Colorado and Washington right now?
No, absolutely not. Chief Chaz, now you've been fighting this fight a long time.
Yep.
Tell me what it is. Why don't you tell folks what it is that you do, what you have done, and what it is exactly that you see the current state of prohibition.
Well, basically, I spent 15 years in Texas law enforcement. Started out at the age of 21, and throughout most of my career, I worked narcotics, whether it be street-level interdiction, special weapons and tactics, even to the point of undercover narcotics. And then I moved on to, I became a police chief for 2.5 years, and I served on the Tarrant County, Texas, Tarrant County Narcotics Investigation Unit, TCNIU. And it's at that point that I really saw the true waste of the drug war and this prohibition on marijuana. It's not about public safety and health. It's about money. And And I saw that with my own eyes. And after leaving my law enforcement career, I teamed up with Barry Cooper from NeverGetBusted.com, and he really opened my eyes up about prohibition and marijuana, and I jumped headfirst into.
Now let me ask you this, Chief Chaz. You've been doing this for how long? How long have you been known throughout the Metroplex as Chief Chaz? Texas's foremost authority on the legalization movement, and rabble rouser.
Yeah, rabble rouser. I started about, I'll say 3.5 years ago.
Okay, and you've been harassed, haven't you?
Oh yeah,
simply by exhibiting your First Amendment right to free speech.
Yes.
You have a political issue.
Yep.
With the state of Texas, with the United States government. You have a problem with the prohibition, but more importantly, you have a problem with the ridiculous waste that you, as someone in law enforcement, were eyewitness to.
Exactly, yeah. And for speaking my opinion, and believe me, I've suffered greatly for it.
Money lost, lives lost, the lives lost. The people who went to jail because they had a bag of weed. And the consequences of that in later life for them. Oh, well, they only went to jail for 9 months. Yeah, well, they were a convict for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I mean, I can personally speak about that, It really has. I have a marijuana conviction, and there were times where it completely, I couldn't even get an apartment at some point because of it.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't let me get an apartment because of a marijuana charge that's 10 years old.
Yeah, when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, these are ridiculous laws, all designed to keep what now I really don't understand. Chaz, let me have you speak to this for a minute. What are the economic benefits of legalizing marijuana? I mean, because that's really what is behind the sea change that occurred in Oregon and in Colorado.
Well, you've got tax benefits. You got a great medicinal use for it. That's been proven time and time again. You're going to save counties and cities. It costs a city an average of $2,000 a day per person on a marijuana arrest. And like Jansen said, it ruins lives just over a simple marijuana charge, but yet get a DWI and you can function normally forever.
State of Colorado estimates $4.5 billion in the first year of legalization due to legalization taxes and tourism and other associated fees that will come in. $4.5 billion into the economy of Colorado. You know what that's going to do?
Wow.
Well, hey,
gold-plated parking lots. That's what that's going to do. And the politicians in that state woke up. They realized that, you know what, maybe we can't publicly back this because the blue hairs won't vote us, but it's a good thing if it happens.
What's $1 billion cash crop, and they're just now realizing that.
That's right. Yes, and we need jobs. We need tax dollars. If we're spending 11-to-1 on defense spending, and we're sucking money out of the schools, we need to come up with a new way that the kids can have music class. That's just fact. We need to go ahead, Jimmy Ryan. You're chomping at the bit.
And what better way than to give them weed before they actually go?
No, you know that's a ridiculous argument. Nobody's advocating giving children weed. What we're advocating
That's why
for.
I kept my mouth shut.
Well, all right, very good. There is a sea change. Would you agree? There seems to be some sort of. Am I the only one out here that believes that society is shifting?
Well, dude, just the fact that we're having this conversation right now and potentially giving it out to the public. Think about 10 years ago how cliche it would have been to actually be talking about this in public. I mean, well, maybe not 10 years ago, but 15 years ago.
Even 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you'd have told me I'm doing today what I'm doing today, I'd have told you you're full of it.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can.
And then you'd have put us in jail.
You didn't see it on local TV. Now it's like everyone is talking about it.
Well, I mean, every president, I believe, since Clinton said he didn't inhale, but every president has admitted, every candidate has admitted to smoking weed at one point in their life.
And that's what stinks about, like, what Jansen was talking about, having something on your record. And let's say you're actually going in for an interview, and that's the only thing that's on your record. The guy that's actually the hiring manager, there's a good chance that he smoked weed, maybe even had, an instance where he could have gotten into trouble for it. Probably doesn't even hold it against you that you do it. But because it's illegal, it's become company policy, and that just puts you in the cannot hire list.
Well, it's the policy itself at the national level is hypocrisy. We have no problem encouraging the liquor companies and encouraging the pharmaceutical companies to create ways to sedate the public. You want to make a new pill that you can take when you come home from work and veg out? Sure. You got anxiety. Get any doctor in America to say it. And then suddenly everybody's taking a pill. I don't want to take a pill. You know what I also don't want to do? I don't want to come home and have to drink a glass of scotch or 2 or 3 or 4.
You don't get a hangover from marijuana ever.
It's not something. Yeah, I mean there are definitely pros, but why, as an adult in a free America, is one suddenly making me someone worthy of handcuffs in a metal bar, and the others are I'm encouraged in every other TV commercial I see?
Because the pharmaceutical companies run the government.
I mean, is that it though? Is that one of the main reasons?
They're
I'm not
big
going to say
contributors.
they don't run the government.
No,
Exactly.
They're big contributors to campaign funds.
But they certainly do. And it seems to me that over the course of the last decade, there has been a direct change in the attitude of the American consumer public, where it has gone from marijuana makes you jump off the roof and think you can fly to, yeah, I used to get high in college. It ain't that bad. And that's kind of what I'm speaking to.
Well, I mean, how much do you guys think that the industry really does play in keeping marijuana illegal? I mean, look at
What
hemp
industry?
alone.
What is the industry?
Well, let's look at paper. You know, the hemp. What all could hemp do to multiple of these industries at once?
The cancer industry doesn't want people growing their own medicine. That's a big player right there.
Well, you see, I used to believe that, but I mean, they sell water.
Isn't hemp a red
They
herring
sell
in this whole
water
argument?
now. I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you can have it yourself. Everyone gets water out of the tap, but they'll sell it to you if they think that they can.
TV was free until they marketed how much better it is if you pay $10 a month for it.
Right.
And now we all have cable.
So I mean, that's the reason why I don't really go for that part of it, where it's like, no, the private people don't want to invest in something that you can get for free, possibly. People are lazy. They'll definitely go up to the store and buy up some weed.
Look, I would much rather if I were to if it were to be legal, I would much rather be able to go to the store and buy. Look, I like meat. I love chicken. I eat chicken just about every night. I don't have a backyard filled with chickens.
Right.
I'm going to the store and I'm buying the chicken that's already prepared. I'm not going to grow my own weed and cut my own. Nobody's going to do that. So that is a bit of a red herring.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I don't even know anybody who has killed their own animal before eating. That's how far off it is.
Here's what it is. The pharmaceutical companies got there first. The alcohol companies got there first. The system is established. Mm-hmm. They're the players. That's it. Doors closed. Nobody else is invited to the party.
But do they really have lobbyists in there preventing marijuana becoming legal?
Here's the thing about marijuana. Nobody ever tried to sell marijuana. Marijuana was always just free throughout history. It grew, you picked it up, you smoked it. Now, when people didn't want marijuana and they started, making mead and grog and fermented berries and all these things, that wasn't quite as easily attainable as marijuana that everybody already had because it grew in their backyard. So what you had was a business, an industry was created in the selling of that mead. You understand, people took marijuana for granted because it was always there.
Yeah, it was a weed.
Exactly, it was a weed.
Later on, you have to wonder how far off these certain people, back in the day when they would actually grow their own weed, they would be like, yeah, one day I've heard that, the king's actually wanting to get rid of this stuff. And they'd be like, dude, it's everywhere. That's how would they even start doing that? And they looked at each other in complete, confusion. There's no way that would be possible. And now look at us.
I want to get back into what Pugs was saying, how hemp is a red herring. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, is
it a viable textile? Is it something that we can actually use?
Absolutely.
It'll improve.
Absolutely.
What is it better than? Is
Dude,
it better than cotton?
It's more durable than all that. The fibers alone.
Would we wear it? Is it uncomfortable? I mean, there's got to be practical reasons why it hasn't broken through. Because if it really was this miracle material that grew so freely, we would be farming hemp the way we farm cotton, the way we farm.
We were back in the day, and that's where all this started. Was Harry Anslinger back in the 30s? Hemp was going to kill the cotton industry.
Okay, so this I don't know. Now, this is the kind of things that I want to talk about.
That's when it turned again. That's when when hemp started to go down.
Okay, but do we really want to fight this battle for the hemp producers industry, or are we more about this infringement upon our civil liberties? Because that's what I'm about.
I think it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Both.
And being a pro marijuana show, I know that I may end up getting crap for this, but it's not a great shirt product. The stoner, stereotypical stoner who's walking around in his hemp shirt has the smell of hemp at all times.
I think it smells good.
Like, no, it smells. It smells like you go into a hemp shop.
I don't want to smell like a head shop. I don't want to walk
Nah,
around.
dude, there's not even any THC in
I'm
it.
certain there are ways that you could refine the processing and you can make it so it doesn't smell like that.
But-
and you could probably make it cotton-esque.
It seems like every time I get on Reddit or something like that, there's
people.
another article about how hemp oil is doing this, or hemp as in the fabric is
Right.
doing that, and I mean there's all kinds of super threads
It's
in it.
just to me, and it's a good issue. And I'm glad you're behind it. I mean, we're going to talk about all of these issues, but to me, it's just one of those issues that takes us off the course of action. It just distracts us into other things. And really, to me, it does sound like a war. But I'm more interested in the war between the pharmaceutical companies and the people that want to run marijuana collectives than I am the war between the cotton producers and whoever's going to make the next shirt. I just.
But it's
Cotton
not even
industry
about
thing
that
was,
though.
was
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
Now I heard like hemp oil can like be power. It can take over oil.
Well, it's already been proven that hemp oil has cured certain types of cancers.
Yep, it sure has.
It's been proven more than
Well,
once.
wait a second now. Now if there was any real scientific evidence to back a statement like that up, I am certain I would have heard it somewhere.
Well, see,
is.
now I've been reading bits and pieces on this. I think that we talked about this a little while back. That I was interested in this, but one of the things that I'm interested in doing for this show is bringing on somebody who actually knows really what this stuff is going towards. Because I've come across a lot of different websites that'll say that this type of weed cures this cancer. And it's like, whoa, that seems kind of crazy.
I can tell you a real life story of a real life individual that I spoke with.
Well,
that worked on.
you can give us what you can't do is give us a comprehensive study. You can give us one instance.
There's been comprehensive, just not in the United States.
Yes, exactly, and that's what I was about to say right here. Spain, the International Medical Veritas Association, has basically came out and said that they confirmed that hemp oil cures cancer without side
It
effects.
kills some cancers and slows down some cancers.
Without side
Right.
effects.
Yeah, and many things do. So I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm just saying that it would be nice to get somebody in here who could really clarify
exactly.
how it goes.
Okay, there we
about
go.
it.
So let's etch that down. That is a subject that I would like to have an answer to. I would like to know what the science is behind the statement that there are aspects in hemp oil that cures cancer.
Well, I got it. It looks like I got a good lead on somebody that would be a good guy to talk to. So we can maybe next show we can have him on.
Yeah, that would be great. That's exactly. So another thing that we want to do here. Let me check the clock here. It is.
In fact, hold on. There's actually a Facebook page called Hemp Oil Cures Cancer. It'd be kind of cool to see if we can get those guys on or
that
something.
seals it. That must be true then.
There we go.
It's on Facebook.
It's
yeah.
official.
yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. This has been segment 1 of episode 1 of Legalized Texas, a new show which will be covering counterculture issues, societal issues, but always keeping one foot firmly in the grave of prohibition here in the state of Texas. It's Legalized Texas. I'm Pugs Moran along with Jimmy Ryan and Chief Chaz here at the beautiful Jedi Jansen studios of Deep Ellum On Air. We will be back after this. DeepEllumOnAir.com.
Check out deepellamonair.com for all of your exclusive rates, show times, and more. Everything you need to know about the local music scene for the Dallas-Fort Worth area can be found online. deepellamonair.com.
It's Legalized Texas here at deepellamonair.com. I'm Pugs Moran along with Jimmy Ryan and Chief Chaz. Humbly broadcasting to you from the studios of Deep Ellum On Air. At the helm, as for most of the fare created here, Jedi Jansen. How are you, Jansen?
Dude, I'm doing so great.
We're having...
This is such a rich show that we're doing.
This is episode 1, segment 2 of Legalized Texas. If you want to hear what we think this show and what we want for this show, go back and listen to segment 1. Because we ain't going over it again. Right, Jimmy Ryan?
Oh, I think that we should actually just tell everybody what this show is over and over again. Yeah.
It's like a Groundhog's Day kind of effect.
That's what the show is.
Yeah. All right. We are going to be talking about things in general that I think are reflecting society or having impacts on society, things that make us think, things in the headlines, that sort of thing. Counterculture ideas and counterculture stories. One of the big things going on right now, and you want to talk about counterculture. This is I don't even know. Most people in the counterculture wouldn't even want to be associated with this because it is disturbing.
Are you talking about this song?
The what?
This song?
No. I'm talking about the story of this former LA cop, Christopher Dornan, who has been going on a rampage. Jimmy Ryan, what did I miss? What did I miss?
I just love this song. I don't know who this is.
Apparently he doesn't like the intro music.
It's very David Lynchy.
It's like some 62s, surfer rock instrumental.
No, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Thought it was mellow.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this LA cop, this ex-LA cop, Christopher Dornan. The whole world is looking for him. Well, more
AKA the Black Rambo.
When I talk about counterculture, there's a phenomena that has popped up here in relation to this story. And there are these Facebook fan pages, that are actually supporting this guy.
Oh, wow. Are there?
Christopher Dornan. Oh, my God, yes. This guy has a fan base. Now, here's what we know. Christopher Dornan is a former naval lieutenant who then segued his career into the LA Police Department. He was relieved of duty a couple of years ago after an investigation where he was accused of filing a false report against another officer. Apparently, he has suffered some difficulties in life since that time of his release. And he wrote some big giant manifesto and he sent it out to all these members of the media, Anderson Cooper and CNN being chief among them.
So that's how
Jimmy
he
Ryan?
did it? He ended up sending it out to members of the media? This wasn't like a blog post?
Nope.
No, I thought he released it on his Facebook, too.
Well, no, he did.
Oh.
He left a manifesto right there for the police, but he also recorded stuff and sent it out to the media beforehand.
Oh, okay. Okay, because
Telling them what he was going to do.
I don't know what it's been. It hasn't been like an active thing where I'm not watching the news. I mean, I'll read about, certain things here and there, but I haven't been watching the news. And when this broke, the only reason why I knew about it was because 4 different people that I ran into during like a lunch break hour were reading this guy's manifesto and talking about like all the celebrities that he was
crazy.
into.
Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah, it's crazy awesome. It's like
Is it really?
Yeah, it's crazy awesome.
15 pages.
No,
And
I
you know
haven't
what? And
read
I
it.
find myself agreeing with 90% of what this guy had to say.
Isn't that wild?
That's what I assumed, because all of these people, when they actually told me the story, because I haven't read it, and they kept on acting as if this was like their new. I could hear in their tone that this guy was kind of a hero at this point.
Yeah,
like,
he loves Charlie Sheen.
yeah.
Charlie Sheen even issued a video reaching out to me.
A number, Elisa Lampanelli have.
Really?
A number of celebrities have said, "Hey, dude, all right, calm down now." It's.
I would love if like one of the celebrities was like, "So what's the movie you liked me most?" and like just like little questions like.
Well, it's like he's given at one point he's given movie reviews, of actors' careers, and you ought to take better scripts, dude. Stuff. He's giving advice and stuff.
Wow.
He wanted to be heard. This is a guy who has been shut out from the world. Look, and I am making no excuses. He is right now, as of this moment, and as of the moment that he decided to pull the trigger and start killing innocent people, he is a monster who must be accountable for his crimes. That said, let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the entire story objectively, here is what I get. A guy played his role in the machine. This guy was a lieutenant in the United States Navy. He was known as a by-the-book, no BS guy. You know, you bounce a quarter off his bed sheets, if you know what I mean. He was a rules-oriented, by-the-book guy. Justice was like his main thing. Everyone was to be held accountable for whatever they needed to be. He segues into the police department. He becomes a training officer. He is out on patrol. And Chief Chaz, I know you're going to have some things to say about this, so please correct me if I'm wrong. He's out on a training patrol during his rookie year. I don't know what they call that. I guess they would call it your rookie year. I was thinking, you know, is that wrong? Isn't that a sports term? But no, I guess that actually comes from, you know, your rookie year as a police officer. Yeah. He was out on a training patrol with a female veteran officer, and they came into contact with a mentally handicapped, out of control person. I believe the person was 18 years old at the time. During the course of arresting this person, the veteran female police officer reportedly kicked the handicapped dude in the guts twice and in the face once, opening a gash in his face. It was visible wounds. Obviously, he had been kicked in the face. The rookie, this Christopher Dornan, the by-the-book naval lieutenant, he's a lieutenant, dude. He's an officer. He's one of the guys that wears white. He's not, you know, like some scrub.
Wow.
The naval lieutenant reports this. Says that the veteran officer, you know, abused this, went to internal affairs, did everything by the book like he was supposed to do. But there is this, you know, this blue line, this blue code that you do not rat on a fellow officer. And because he was the rookie, he got dismissed by internal affairs. And it was written up in his permanent file that he filed fake charges against a veteran officer, even though the suspect who was arrested went to court and testified in court that, yeah, I got kicked in the face. Even though the victim is saying it and the officer on the scene said, I saw it, the officer's permanent record reflected that he made up a fake charge about a veteran officer. He was eventually dismissed from the police department. He lost almost everything. His whole life went into a tailspin. He wrote this giant manifesto, and he decided that he was going to start killing Los Angeles police officers. He began by killing the daughter and fiance of the captain who was in charge of his dismissal. And then he went on the run and he shot 2 Riverside police officers, wounding a third. He drove his truck apparently out to Big Bear, which is a significant distance out of L.A., where the car was found burned out. So the search since the weekend has been centered around Big Bear, California, in the mountains, where a snowstorm came. Personally, I believe that this guy's back in L.A. I think he just lured everybody out to Big Bear, and now he's back doing whatever he is. But Jimmy Ryan, that's the story as it stands today. He's still on the run. One of the interesting things that has occurred in the last 24 hours is that the Los Angeles Police Department has issued a public statement citing that they are going to reopen the case of his firing, that they are going to look back into this. Now, they also make a point to say that this is not in response to what he's doing. It's just that, you know, it's in response to what he's doing.
No, what's the blue line?
Chief Chaz, you can speak to the blue line. I believe you've been a victim of the blue line.
Oh, I'm a prime example of what happens when you cross the blue line. Basically, it's a police officers. It's a brotherhood. I don't know if you've ever seen the little stickers that have a blue line. You know, it represents the brotherhood of law enforcement. They're a lot like military. It's a family, and when you cross a family member, or you turn, or what they deem you turn on a family member, you cross that blue line, and that's just something you don't do.
If you're two cops and you're on a scene, you're responding, and you see one cop beat the holy crap out of the suspect, you as the other cop didn't see anything.
That's right.
And if you saw something, then you violated the blue line.
Yep.
Why is this allowed? Like, I know that may be unpopular.
In reality, it's not. In reality, it's allowed, but on paper, it's the
unspoken
rule.
It's the unspoken rule.
It's unwritten rule.
You don't narc on your own.
Yeah.
Goes back. It applies to just about every profession, just about every walk of life. You don't rat on your own.
But unfortunately, in this case, like in law enforcement, when you rat on your own, you're dealing with a group of people that are trained to run people's lives.
And because of the belief that this guy, the oversimplified belief that the machine destroyed a life and pushed that man to the limit. And now that machine that so carelessly and thoughtlessly discarded this human life is now having to deal with this discarded life's vengeance. And that appeals to a lot of people. That's why this guy's Facebook page has a lot of likes, has a lot of support, and people are run Christopher run, and sites like this. That, in my opinion, I understand that there is some romanticism to that, but the fact of the matter is that he crossed the line of any credibility when he killed the daughter of a police captain and her fiance. Those people were innocent victims. He doesn't value life, and for that, he loses all credibility. But as I say, it's a complicated story because we do have to deal with all aspects of it. We need to arrest this guy. We need to stop him from killing any more innocents. We need to put him in jail for the rest of his life. But we also need to look into the LA Police Department and what led to this.
Well, I'll tell you my opinion on his whereabouts. I don't think he's back in L.A. What you got here is a gentleman that's trained in urban warfare and military warfare who's up in the mountains. And I'll be honest with you, I foresee more tragedy in the future. They're sending all these officers on foot into a mountain to hunt down a guy who's been trained to fight in that type of area.
Rambo. I mean,
it's literally. And what's going to happen? This guy with his training and his abilities, he has the means, the know-how. He could be 1,000 yards away and start picking off these innocent officers that are on foot in mountains. I think it's crazy. And I've gotten a lot of emails, people asking me my opinion on this, and I think it's insane that they're doing a ground hunt for this guy. It should be by air. I think putting a bunch of officers in the mountain is just going to lead to a lot more tragedy.
Can I read you a little bit of the manifesto? We got time to hear a little bit of this?
Sure.
Jimmy, you had a response to that?
Well, I was going to say there's a guy who in the 70s, I think that he got drunk or something, and he was drinking and driving, and he ended up getting into a fight with a couple officers, maybe even shot one of them. And then ended up going back to his place. You may actually know about this guy. And ended up basically saying that he was going to shoot at anybody who came into his house. And since then, they've just left him alone. He's just stayed there. And this is really local. This is just outside of Fort Worth. It's
really?
Yeah,
There's this local guy?
Very local guy, yeah.
Well, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
Back then it worked, but nowadays that would be like a challenge to ego-driven guys that wear badges.
That's what I figured, yeah.
Here is, I'll read you the beginning, and we'll hit on some of the key points of Christopher Dorner's manifesto, okay? Titled, To America. I know most of you who personally know me are in disbelief to hear from media reports that I am suspected of committing such horrendous murders and have taken drastic and shocking actions in the last couple of days. You are saying to yourself that this is completely out of character of the man you knew who always wore a smile wherever he was seen. I know I will be vilified by the LAPD and the media. Unfortunately, this is a necessary evil that I do not enjoy but must partake and complete for substantial change to occur within the LAPD and reclaim my name. The department has not changed since the Rampart and Rodney King days. It has gotten worse. The consent decree should never have been lifted. The only thing that has evolved from the consent decree is those officers involved in the Rampart scandal and the Rodney King incidents have since been promoted to supervisors, commanders, and command staff. The question is, what would you do to clear your name? And then he goes into a bunch of definitions of what a name is supposed to mean.
Does it get really deep?
Here's what it says. In August of 2007, I reported an officer, Teresa Evans, now a sergeant, for kicking a suspect during a use of force while I was assigned as a patrol officer at LAPD's Harbor Division. While cuffing the suspect, suspect's name's Christopher Geiler, Officer Evans kicked the suspect twice in the chest and once in the face. The kick to the face left a visible injury on the left cheek below the eye. Unfortunately, after reporting it to the supervisors and investigated by PSB, that's the Internal Affairs
Can you
Division,
imagine, like, when
nothing
she
was
woke
done.
up? When she woke up and, like, she saw, like, she heard that there was a note, and then she read across that part, and she was like, "Oh, he would bring up the kicking in the stomach of that guy that day. He would bring that up."
Oh, he's such a bitch.
Yeah, he's always bringing that up.
All right, so he goes on to go in great detail about all of the things that are wrong with the LAPD. He names names. He rants about goes on about the consent decree and all of that. Here, we'll pick it up here. It says, I'm not an aspiring rapper. I'm not a gang member. I'm not a dope dealer. I don't have multiple baby mamas. I'm an American by choice. I am a son. I am a brother. I am a military service member. I'm a man who has lost complete faith in the system. When the system betrayed, slandered, and libeled me, I lived a good life, and though not a religious man, I always stuck to my own personal code of ethics, ethos, and always stuck to my shoreline and true north. Well, you got a little bit away from that here, pal, but I mean, I didn't need the U.S. Navy to instill honor, courage, and commitment in me, but I thank them for reinforcing it. It is now in my DNA. Luckily, I don't have to live every day like most of you, concerned if the misconduct you were a part of is going to be discovered. Looking over your shoulder, scurrying at every phone call from internal affairs or from the captain's office, wondering if that is the day PSB, that's their internal affairs. PSB comes after you for the suspects you struck.
PBS is coming after him.
Yeah. All right. So he goes on again. Now he goes just back into this whole thing against the police department. Goes after Chief Beck. Goes on and on for a few thousand words. I want to get into his entertainment reviews. Those are where he says his goodbyes to people.
What's kind of interesting to me, though, is that he actually says this is probably a surprise to the people that are closest to me. And that's when, like, a lot of times, like in the news, whenever there's like a shooting or anything like that, they always inspire this response from most people where they almost feel like they need to protect themselves more. But for me, it's more like I assume that people are on the edge at almost all moments. Almost everybody that you meet could be told news that day or it could be driven to the edge that day, and they don't even know that they could, you know what I mean?
Listen to this, and this is what's so interesting about this. The machine can arbitrarily chew up and destroy lives, but at some point you're going to chew up a life that isn't going to go so easily, and crap like this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Listen to what he says. No amount of, he starts naming all the different intelligence organizations, military, local, federal. No amount of IMENT, MASENT, or ELNT will assist you in capturing me. I am off the grid. You better use your feet, tongue, and every available DOD/non-DOD human agency contractor to find me. I know your route to and from home and your division. I know your significant other's routine, your children's best friends and recesses. I know your Sanchez gym hours and routine. Right here, he's calling out individual people. I've skipped over a lot of the names, but he is threatening. By the way, it should be there are hundreds and hundreds of people in LA right now who are the family and loved ones of police officers named in this manifesto who are now receiving round-the-clock security. I mean, the families of these police officers are being guarded like they're Fort Knox, and they have been for about a week now. I mean, this is creepy. This guy's out there laying in the woods.
Did he say any celebrities that he didn't like?
Yeah. We'll start it here. Senator Feinstein. All right, he goes after Senator Feinstein in California. You are doing the right thing in leading the reinstitution of a national assault weapons ban. Never again should any public official state that their prayers and thoughts are with the family. That has become cliche and meaningless. It is time for action. Let this be your legacy that you bestow upon America. Do not be swayed by obstacles, antagonists, and naysayers. Remember the innocent children at Austin, Kent, Stockton, Fullerton, San Diego, Iowa City, Jonesboro, Columbine, Nickel Mines, Blacksburg. He goes,
and this is a guy who smokes people with an assault rifle.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's see.
But he's law enforcement, so he should have had it.
And I've felt like this was going to happen at any moment because if you're wanting to do something nowadays, because of the way that the media has treated all of these different shootings, that is the way that you just get that's your smoke signal is a shooting, and then you can basically tag along whatever you wanted. And I was just waiting for somebody to make it seem like they're the good person by doing a shooting, and here it is. Yeah.
He starts naming off his friends. Like, if you were one of this dude's friends, do you now want to be named in this list? Like, for instance, it says here, Jason Young, you're a great friend, an entrepreneur, and a fine husband and father.
Oh, no.
No! Jason Young does not want to be associated with you right now, dude. And then he goes on to name a bunch of people in the military, his superiors, and all these people who shaped him into the man he is today. It's kind of a backhanded compliment, would you say? General Colin Powell, your book, My American Journey, solidified my decision to join the military after college. I had always intended to serve, but your book and journey motivated me. You are an inspiration to all Americans and influenced me greatly. Ellen DeGeneres, continue your excellent contribution to entertaining America and bringing the human factor to entertainment. You changed the perception of your gay community and how we as Americans view the LGBT community. I congratulate you on your success in opening my eyes as a young adult and my generation's eyes to the fact that you are no different from us other than who you choose to love. Oh, and your Prop 8 supporters out there. Why the F do you care who neighbors marry why the hell do you care who your neighbors marry? Hypocritical pieces of shit. Westboro Baptist Church. He's going to do a shout out to these guys. Westboro Baptist Church. May you all burn slowly in a fire, not from smoke inhalation, but from the flames, and only the flames. Hey, Tim Tebow getting a shout out. You could do a late night skit where, you just make up fake shout outs, but you don't have to. This guy is so random. Jimmy Ryan, you interested in hearing what he thinks about Tim Tebow?
I am. I'm very interested.
Hey, Tebow, I really wanted to see you take charge of an offense again. You're not as good a quarterback by today's standards, but you are a great football player. Who knows how to lead a team to win? You will be Tebowing when you reach your next team. I have faith in you. Get out of that circus they call the Jets and away from reality TV stars. Rex Ryan and Mark the Rapist Sanchez.
I would like if he actually...
Give him a sports radio show.
If he shot a video of himself showing him a better, more well-performing 5-step drop for Tim Tebow to try out next year.
How about Christopher Waltz? Everybody loves Christopher Waltz, right? The dude's awesome. He says, you impressed me in Inglourious Bastards. After viewing Django Unchained, I was sold. I have come to the conclusion that you are well on your way to becoming one of the greats, if not already, and show glimpses of Daniel Day-Lewis and Morgan Freeman-esque type qualities. Trust me when I say that you will be one of the greatest actors ever. Christopher Waltz. This dude needs to read this, right? Because, he's flattered. On some level, you're flattered.
Oh, yeah. You're like, wow. I mean, like,
awesome.
Here's a guy. This is so random, and then he brings up me.
I hope he finds his way to the front doorsteps of the Westboro Baptist Church. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, who knows where he's going? I think who knows if he's even still alive. But that's so funny. He's just throwing shout-outs to, like, celebrities. Because, honestly, I would be flattered, but then you're like, it's a weird kind of flattering.
Kind of scary.
Because you're like, wait a second. Let's see. How about the women? These are who he thinks are hot women. He gives
he breaks it down. Huh?
Yeah, damn right he does. He gives a list of hot women. Jennifer Beals.
Yeah.
She's pretty hot. Flashdance. Jimmy, you probably will not know who any of these women are.
I know. That's the girl from Seventh Heaven, right?
Jennifer Beals.
Yeah.
That's where she started.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
You guys don't know who Jennifer Beals is.
She was in Seventh Heaven when she was younger.
No.
Yeah.
No.
She played the oldest daughter.
She was 40 when Seventh Heaven debuted. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Jennifer Beals is the star of Flashdance.
Oh, we're thinking of the other Beals. What's her name?
How old is this guy?
You're thinking of Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, yeah.
This guy is 44 years old. Jennifer Beals, Flashdance. You're a maniac.
I remember.
Really? She's hot. Half black, half white. Sexy. Really sexy.
This is where my knowledge drops off completely. It's like a cliff.
Serena Williams.
She's
we know
a tennis
who she
player.
is. Tennis player. We like her, or we know her. Then he goes into Gray Drake. I gotta assume porn star.
All right.
I don't know. Gray Drake and Lisa Nicole Carson.
Sound like porn stars.
Kate Winslet, Ashley Graham, Erica Christensen, Gabrielle Union.
I wish that he did do porn stars and like actually props for his best scenes, were like the best scenes.
He does next. Isabella Soprano is a porn star, and he
Really?
thinks she's pretty hot.
It was like that third scene with like the two guys.
Like a good porno movie, LAPD.
MSNBC. He's hot for MSNBC's Tamron Hall. You know what? If someone had just found this, if the FM talk format hadn't gone away, this guy could be a great host. He has these are all things that any good FM talk host would discuss in a day. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on Senator Feinstein and how hot MSNBC's Tamron Hall is. This guy's got talent, and he's wasted it because he flipped his nut.
It's because there's no padding for him to actually fall into in the radio market these days. So
this is Russ Martin without the the show. That's what we got here. We got a complete lunatic. Let's see. He also more girls that he likes. Gina Carano, America Ferrara.
Gina Carano, yeah.
He likes Ugly Betty. He thinks Ugly Betty makes his list. Yeah, shoot higher, dude. It's a fantasy list. Why are you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My fantasy list, all 10s, dude. All 10s. This guy's got some
He's realistic, I guess.
But this is not a realistic list. It's the fantasy list.
Yeah, this is your last list, dude.
Yeah,
Aim for the stars.
Yeah. Kelly Clarkson, digs on her. Natalie Portman, Queen Latifah, Michelle Rodriguez, Nora Jones, Laura Prepon. He's a fan of that 70s show. Although, this is an interesting one because he doesn't name Mila Kunis. And if you were going to take one from that 70s show, you might go Mila Kunis. But this guy went Laura Prepon. I give him respect. The ginger doesn't get a lot of respect, and he went after the redhead.
Maybe we'll find out that that's like in his Craigslist post that's upcoming. Like, will trade gun for Mila Kunis.
How about this? The music. You interested in what kind of music this dude's into?
Yeah.
All right. He likes Dave Brubeck's Take 5. It's the greatest piece of music ever written. So he likes jazz. It's like it's really high-end, critically acclaimed hipster jazz.
See, that's why, like, every once in a while...
It's old stuff, though. It's not new stuff. It's like,
you do look like a creep if you're listening to jazz in the car. Like, there's something wrong with you. Like, I don't trust anybody who's listening to jazz in their car. And I bet you did.
You would know this song, Take 5. Dave Brubeck's Take 5 is the greatest piece of music ever. You would know it. You've heard it in endless commercials. It's just one of those songs that's in your head that you just always assumed was there. It's just a song that's always existed. But yeah, it was a hit song for, go to YouTube. See if you can find, while we do this list of music that he likes, see if you can pull up Dave Brubeck's Take 5. Play that for a second.
Listen to Wagner or something.
Because, I think this guy needs his due. I mean, we can't, mock him if we really don't know what it is he likes.
Yeah, this was like a well-known guy, though, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't like, oh, finally, my big break.
No. This is
I'm going on tour.
No, this is Dave Brubeck. He's a legend. He's
okay.
One of the jazz greats.
That would be great if you actually did lift people up into a career. Because nobody knew who they were, and they were like, I'm going on tour.
Hey, check out my nephew's band. They're playing this week down at the Curtain Club.
Yeah.
Let's see. He likes Dave Brubeck. This is Take 5.
Yeah.
All right. This is Dave Brubeck's Take 5. This is what he describes as the greatest piece of music ever. All right. Here we go. Let's see what. And he also likes Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Bob Marley, Sam Cooke. He's got some pretty eclectic tastes here. Sam Cooke, Metallica, Rob Zombie, Nora Jones. You don't get a lot of people that like Rob Zombie and Nora Jones.
Rob Zombie and jazz.
That's a complicated dude. Yeah,
He's gotta
you're
be
right.
sick in the head.
He's a complicated dude. This guy's got some things rolling around in that noodle, and he just needed somebody to listen to him. Let's see here. And something happened here with this guy that Kelly and I, my former partner on the Pugs and Kelly show, we had this decade-long thing where we used to encourage people who were on the lam to turn themselves into us, or at the very least, wear a Pugs and Kelly t-shirt during the perp walk, because we just think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Some great. Mm-hmm. This guy does it, man. He throws out high fives to his favorite radio show.
Wow.
Yeah. Here's what he'd like to say.
You know that those were the guys that were most appreciative. Because, like, as a radio show, you really do want this kind of stuff.
I actually know these guys.
I need to send him a Chief Chaz shirt.
It's John and Ken from KFI. This is Take 5. You've heard this song before.
Yeah.
Here. Christopher Dorner says that this is the greatest piece of music ever written. Welcome to Legalize Texas, a daily political activist show concerning the prohibition movement in the state of Texas.
Like elevator music.
Yeah, it sounds like something on NPR.
Yeah, next on NPR.
Welcome to floor 2.
All right, so he now strokes his favorite radio show, right? Here's what he says. John and Ken from KFI. Never mute your facts, bro, or personal opinions. It's like a total fan, Like, he's even throwing out jargon that is only familiar to people who listen to that show. Never mute your facts, bro. Like, that's something they say to each other.
If I'm that radio guy, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sleeping next to the phone.
Call me, bro. Yeah.
Just waiting.
Yeah, let's get him on the phone. Let's do an interview.
Until this story, breaks to, something else that's going on.
Actually, one of the guys from John and Ken, and I don't know which one. I've met him once back in the day. They're very successful. They're huge afternoon drive talk superstars in Los Angeles. One of them put out a YouTube video where he's like, "Bro, dude, what are you doing? Come on, bring it in, dial it back, give yourself up." A lot of people have given these celebrity, "Hey, you name me in your manifesto. Come on in. Come back to Jesus."
At the end of that video, did they like forget to edit the end? And then all of a sudden he's sitting there going, "Dude, this is gonna be huge for us.
This could be huge for us.
Ratings are
Do you know
gonna
what
be
this
through
is
the
going to
roof."
do for our syndication kickoff next
Charlie
month?
Sheen tell him to call him.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen.
He didn't leave a number. I was watching that video
bro.
hoping to get that number because I was
Wow.
going to have fun with it.
Hey, John and Ken from KFI, never mute your facts and personal opinions. You are one of the few media personalities who speak the truth, even when the truth is not popular. I will miss listening to your discussions. Oh, and then he gives another one to Bill Handel. Bill Handel is another jock out there. Bill Handel, you're effing awesome. For years I enjoyed your show. Anthony Bourdain, you're a modern Renaissance man who epitomizes the saying, "too cool for school."
Oh, my God.
But you know what? I agree with almost everything he's saying.
This dude has snapped.
I also think that Anthony Bourdain is a Renaissance man and a really interesting guy who probably is, if we were to apply "too cool for school," yeah, that might fit him. He's pretty cool.
I think he's setting up a legally insane claim.
Cardinal Mahoney. All right, L.A. Cardinal there in L.A. Cardinal Mahoney, you are in essence a predator yourself as you enabled your subordinates to molest multiple children in the church over many decades. May you die a long and slow, painful death. Larry David. He's going to throw it out to Larry David. He's keeping it light. He's going heavy with the cardinal bashing.
Yeah.
And then he's keeping it light with a little Larry David. Larry David, I agree. 72 to 82 degrees is way too hot in a residence. 68 degrees is perfect.
Yeah, I would love. Oh man, I would have paid to watch. I would have paid to have watched Larry David read that. Like,
So do
get
you
to
think-
that part.
Do you think there's any way that this rambling could mean something else? Like
He's working on his insanity
it's
plea when he gets
encrypted
caught.
with some other meaning. Like, conspiracy theorists are probably going nuts. With
I think
this,
he's just
you know?
flipped his lid. He's a freaking nut.
All right, here, this one speaks to the whole Trayvon Martin situation. If you continuously followed me while I was walking at night, I would confront you as well. Too bad Trayvon didn't smash your skull completely open, Zim. While Trayvon's body erodes to bone 6 feet under, Zimmerman has put on no less than 40 pounds while out on bail. Zimmerman was arrested for battery on a peace officer and avoided jail and prison because he completed a diversion program. That's a history of being an asshole. Zimmerman couldn't get hired by the... He just goes on, and I agree with all this stuff about Zimmerman, too. I think the Zimmerman guy's just an asshole. I don't know if he's a dangerous murderer, but what happened that night was terrible. But above and beyond that, dude seems like an asshole. Seems like the kind of guy that's a dick. And then we got Christopher Dornan, another guy who, make no mistake, seems like a dick. I mean, he's shooting and killing people in cold blood. He's a monster. But this is why it's so bizarre when people snap.
Well, yeah, it shows you that they do have a normal route.
Yes.
That these people don't. A lot of times the news will paint them as these psychopaths. Every single time that you would have been able to point them out. I don't think that that's the case. I think that there's a good amount of people that are psychopaths, and you could have pointed them out in high school.
Yeah.
And then there's other people like this who really, they believed in what they were doing. They believed that that was the way that they were supposed to do things the right way. And then they get tested. And it's just enough of a test to where they lose their shit and all of a sudden just decide to do something like this. And it's somebody that you could have easily just been, kicking some nice mentally challenged boy one day, and he turns on you.
People are fragile, man.
Yeah.
People, the human body is, I am telling you something, a lot of people know this. I had a son that died during birth. For 9 months, he was aces, A+ grading out on everything, healthy as a freaking little bull. And then one little thing in this complicated human body went wrong at the worst possible moment, and life ceased to exist. We are complicated. I mean, if it's not our heart, if it's not, an aneurysm exploding in our brain, it might be our foot in reality that explodes. We might completely, that's, people flip out. Who knows if we're not crazy, right? I don't know. Once you start to lose an ability to detect the difference between fantasy and reality, which this guy clearly has. This guy's stalking police officers and shooting them dead in the street. And then on the other hand, he's writing about how much he likes Larry David, or his favorite radio shows.
Well, it's kind of like the people will snap when their reality is no longer. Like if like for instance, like the number one time that somebody loses their shit is if like a boyfriend finds out that his girlfriend's cheating. And they've been together for a really long time, right?
Simple-minded people. That's like,
okay. But I'm saying that, like, if you are going to lose your mind,
passion. Yeah, flip out. Yeah.
That's going to end up being the reason why it happens. It's going to be because your reality just changed. And for this guy, his reality was the job, like the fact that he was, you said, a lieutenant. He's well up there.
That makes me kind of wonder if maybe there's not he's had a military career, a law enforcement career. If maybe there's not a PTSD issue here, and maybe that's what led to the final snap.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a report where he was crying in the car about wanting to go back to training and stuff like that.
It very well could be. I mean, PTSD is a very deadly and new disease that's people are still learning about.
Let's wrap up with a couple more of Christopher Dorner's. We're reading his manifesto. He is the ex-LA cop who is wanted now with the murder of 3 people. Actually, I think it's 3 police officers and 5 people. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers. I apologize. We're reading from his manifesto. Anonymous, the organization Anonymous. He has this to say: "You are hated, vilified, and considered an enemy to the state. I personally view you as a cultural I personally view you as a culture and a necessity that brings truth to a cloaked world. Forge ahead. Charlie Sheen, you're effing awesome." He goes from that to Charlie Sheen. My opinion on women in combat. I wish all of you who attempt to pursue combat occupational roles the greatest success in completing, graduating, and qualifying in their respective schools/courses. Many want to see you fail. Remember, every one of you is a pioneer. There was a time when they didn't allow blacks to fight the good fight. This is your civil rights. Don't quit. It's time to allow gay service members' spouses to utilize the same benefits that all heterosexual dependents are eligible for. Medical, dental, TRICARE. The guy goes into a whole bunch of things that I happen to agree with him on.
Yeah,
it's frightening.
He's either going to kill a lot of people or run for president, is what it sounds like.
And he ramps it all up with, "Mr. Bill Cosby, you are a reasonable and talented man who has spoken the truth of the culture anomalies within the black communities that need to change now. The black community's resentment towards you is because they don't like hearing the truth or having their clear and evident dirty laundry aired to the nation. The problem is," he's talking about, Bill Cosby when he gets up on stage and says, "Well, wow, you young black brothers don't take care of your kids." He gets criticized for that. And what Dornan is saying is that, hey, I agree with you. Black people just don't like to hear, so they've turned on them. Yeah, well, there's any truth to that? I guess it's all true, because they have. The young black culture.
Black people don't like Bill Cosby?
Not young black culture. There's been a big...
Really?
He's made some statements over the last couple of years that has sort of alienated him from, the cool black culture.
His dentist routine is just great, though.
Yeah, I'm still... Hey, they're all still watching Fat Albert, though, because I saw that was just re-released. My kid likes Fat Albert. Yeah. Bill Cosby goes on to say...
But your kid's not black.
No, my kid's not black. You don't have to be black to like Fat Albert.
But you were trying to make the point that black people, young black people, are now starting to like him.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah. All right, Jimmy Ryan, thank you. We're going to take a quick break. That's segment 2. The hunt continues for this guy, Christopher Dorner. He is a monster. There is no... right? We all agree?
I agree, totally.
He's a monster. You cannot kill the daughter. You can't kill anyone. I was specifically going into the details of him killing the daughter of the captain.
The resort to violence outweighs everything else.
But it just speaks to how fragile we are. Yep. Jimmy?
Yeah, I think it's totally true, especially in this situation. Now, I won't go as far as saying that you can't kill anyone and not still come out a hero. I think that some people could probably pull that off.
And we'll talk about that when we come back. The new book about the shooter. Have you seen that today? The guy who actually pulled the trigger on Osama bin Laden?
No.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
He, the guy who now can never be known, he has to be known only as the shooter, and only a handful of people know who he is. The guy who pulled the trigger and
They're
put the
all
bullet.
girls that he was trying to sleep with.
No. No one can ever know who he is. He is just simply known as the shooter. And you have this person, he's home now. And of course, no one can know who he is because he doesn't want every generation of his offspring for the next couple hundred years to be hunted down by radical Muslims because he put a bullet in Osama bin Laden's head. So he has to remain, secret. It's for, they'll kill his family. They'll come out. He'll never have a moment's peace, this guy. He will be target number one of Al-Qaeda because he's the guy that put the bullet in Osama's head. Yeah, this guy just participated in a book by Phil Bronstein, the former editor of the San Francisco Chronicle, and formerly Mr. Sharon Stone. The book has just come out, and let's talk a little bit about this, about the shooter. He's broke. He can't get a job. He's out of the military. His benefits are like 6 months behind. This guy's, and all he wants to do is go, hey, I fucking put a bullet in Osama bin Laden's head, and I can't feed my kids now? Are you fucking kidding? Let's talk about that when we come back. It is Legalized Texas on Deep Ellum On Air, deepellumonair.com.
It's a real thing.
on air. Only the best in local music. Do it live! DFW and beyond. Deep Ellum on air! On air, serving the DFW Metroplex. Only the best in underground and local music.
Cause me and music are one, you know, music is like my best friend.
Deep Ellum on air.
It's Legalized Texas, episode number 1, segment 3 here at Deep Ellum on air, deepelumonair.com. I'm Pugs Moran, Jedi Jansen is here, Jimmy Ryan and Chief Chaz. Legalized Texas is the show, and as I stated, episode 1 coming to an end here. We're talking about a number of things happening in the news today. We were discussing, we were talking about Christopher the LA shooter. Excuse me. I just opened a can of Coke and it came back up on me. My apologies. Also, we were going to mention a couple of things. Well, we're getting a new pope. Anybody excited about that?
I know I am.
Yeah, now you got a theory here. You're Jansen, Jedi. You what is this?
Well,
the seventh seal, and what is happening here?
It's not my theory, but there's back in the 1400s or whatever. Don't quote me on the time, but a really long time ago, there was a bishop who was called to Rome, And upon leaving Rome, after he conducted whatever the business was, it's Pope or Saint Malachi, by the way. Upon leaving Rome, he gets this convulsing vision of all the popes that will come to be, and I mean he writes it all out, and surprisingly, they have, it's kind of came to how it says their reign was going to be and the whole thing. So anyway, we're currently. Benedict was the second to the last pope, and then the last pope he refers to as Peter the Romanus is supposedly like the if you're into reading the Bible, Revelations, the false prophet. That's who this pope is supposed to be.
Oh no! So they're going to hire the wrong guy?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Peter Romanus will be the destruction of Rome.
Now, are they going to call him that? Like, is it already preordained that the next pope will be Pope Peter Romanus? Or?
Any pope that takes the mantle is already known as a Peter because it's Peter. It's.
What are you laughing about? I'm the one raised in the Catholic Church here, and this is. I'm not going to say this is all new to me, but I'm fuzzy on ascension.
I still say when the Pope folds, we got to be screwed.
The Pope,
Yeah,
the Pope is called like the
job.
throne of Peter or something like that. But anyway, any Pope that takes the Pope ship is already known as a Peter, whatever. But in order for this Pope to fit the criteria, he has to be Italian.
Oh, well, they don't think it's going to be an Italian Pope.
No, yeah, I think it's like that black guy, right?
No, well, look, this was the crazy thing. They're talking about all the changes and what this represents. First of all, a Pope has not stepped down. A Pope has not resigned the papacy since 1451. This is not a job that you quit. This is not a job that you die in office. I mean, there's a whole big thing with the black smoke and the gray smoke that they go through. You die in office. That's how it's done. So this is a completely new thing for the Catholic Church to have to deal with. First of all, whoever the next pope is going to be the first pope ever to have another former pope hovering over his shoulder, which is going to be weird. Well, you're the supreme pontiff. Nobody is bigger than you. Well, what about the dude that had the job before you? This never happened before. We're going to have two popes.
And I have a separate working theory from Jansen, and it is a working theory. I'm not sure how it ends, but this was something that was really random. It happened out of nowhere, it seemed like. And
today's news that the Pope is stepping down?
Yeah.
And totally random. Shocked everyone.
And in my working theory, I don't know how it ends again, but I do know how it begins. The Boy Scouts are thinking about allowing.
Yeah. Well, they were gonna announce that they were gonna allow gays in their little gayest club in America, which is so ironic.
It was because I used to be a Boy Scout. Yeah, and
my mom wouldn't let me. My mom from very early age. My mom was like, "No, that's nerds and dorks. You're gonna play football or baseball."
That is the vibe. I mean, like everybody was willing to admit that they were nerds and kind of geeky. But it was the other thing that they didn't really want. It was the big elephant in the room, if you will.
The guys that wanted to go on hunting trips.
Well, the fact that this guy
trips.
is going to be the guy who's going to be telling us how we're going to sleep at night. And it's like, wait, well, what's he up to? He seems a little bit odd.
Well, they were going to make a major watershed announcement, a reversal of long-standing Boy Scouts of America policy that stated that actually the Boy Scouts of America policy on homosexuality isn't so much that they're not allowed in. They don't even really recognize it as a thing. That's the problem, is that they won't even. I mean, there are a lot of Christianity comes to mind. There's a lot of other examples. Nations out there that don't recognize Israel as an actual nation is just as silly. But they were going to make a big announcement last week, but at the last minute they postponed it till March. So it seems like somebody got to them. Somebody in the Boy Scouts organization who makes decisions was about to say, yeah, we're okay with gays. And then at the last minute, like 24 hours before this major announcement, they said, we're putting it off till March. Somebody is like, no, we got to still hate the gays. Somebody is involved behind the scenes who got what they wanted. They got the decision put off publicly at least till March.
Or the Pope is just really that disliked. He was going to come over, and they were like, dude, I'm catching wind that he's coming. Like, we've got to just put it off for a few more months.
Next month when he quits.
Yeah.
Well, whoever this next pope is, they're saying that he'll probably be, and this was this is something that a lot of Americans don't realize. Because we all talk about China. China is not who is going to destroy our economy. China is not the one we need to be looking at. You know what we need to be looking at? Brazil. Brazil is the fastest growing country on the planet. And they're not a bunch of people living in boxes on a hillside like we're led to believe about South American countries. Brazil is a modern, educated, wealthy, they've got oil money, and they're huge. They're like massive. They've got like, 47% of all Catholics. Ready? 47% of all Catholics are in Brazil. 47%. 24% of all Catholics are in America. And then it's like 22% are in Europe and elsewhere. But Brazil alone is like they're saying that whoever this next guy is will probably come from Brazil because they're the big power base right now in the Catholic Church, and they're such a growing world down there.
I thought you were going to say that the current pope is actually going to be going down there for Carnival. And
they throw a good party down there as well.
Yeah.
All right, there was that story, and then today, Chief Chaz, you attended or you had something to do out there at the memorial for Chris Kyle, the Navy. Is he a Navy man?
He was a Navy SEAL.
He was a
Marine as well, but he was the most lethal Navy SEAL sniper in history after Carlos Hathcock.
Yeah. Now, did you all know this story about Chris Kyle? He became a bit of a celebrity. He was a very a good guy, one of these
great humanitarian.
Yes, amazing. Known as the Devil of Ramadi. That's pretty cool. When the insurgents, when the terrorists tell myths about you around a fire, and they call you the Devil of Ramadi because you're that accurate of a Navy SEAL sniper.
And the other
that if you come into this town, he's going to get you, the Devil of Ramadi. That's pretty cool.
The other SEALs referred to him as the legend.
Yeah, well, he's legendarily known as the most accurate and deadly and accomplished sniper in United States military history. And he served over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's 150 kills.
150 kills, and his furthest shot was 1.2 miles.
Wow. Just deadly. And he wrote a book, and he became a bit of a celebrity. You may have seen him on The Tonight Show or he does a lot of news shows. And we had the added benefit. I had the added benefit of actually interviewing him a couple of times. He was a local guy. Essentially a local guy. He lived out in the boondocks, but he was
Midlothian.
When he'd come to do his media, it was in Dallas. For all that kind of stuff. And a couple weeks back now, I think it was not last weekend, but the weekend before, he was out working with a sufferer of PTSD, which he was known to do. He had a huge foundation, and he did a lot of charity work, and just a great guy. One of these dudes that nobody ever said anything bad about. Just a really good guy. And he's working with this PTSD sufferer. Takes him out to a gun range, which a lot of people have been critical of, which I kind of believe. If you're trying to fix a PTSD guy, why are you taking him to a gun range? I kind of get that.
I'd be nervous.
It's because it's familiar territory.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem. It seems like go to a bar.
He'd been doing it for a while.
Go to a bar. Yeah, I know.
This guy,
yeah.
But he didn't even know this guy, didn't have much info on him. This guy's mother actually came to Chris asking for his help for her son.
Yeah. And the kid snapped on the shooting range and killed Chris Kyle right there, dead, a couple weekends ago. Today, big memorial.
Huge.
If you watched the news tonight at Cowboy Stadium out there in Arlington, you went out there for that?
Yeah, I was out there. I'd gotten wind that the Westboro Baptist Church was going to be out there protesting, and I have huge issues with them and their protesting military funerals. So we went out there to protest. And
were they there?
Oh, yeah, they were there. And luckily, the Arlington police was very cooperative with us once they realized we were there in support of Chris. And it took us less than 45 minutes to run him off.
His wife spoke beautifully. It was moving. The entire thing was moving. They showed it on the news today. Randy Travis, however, played.
I couldn't believe that. How did he get out of jail to do that?
Yeah, Randy Travis was up there, played a beautiful song, wasn't a dry eye in the house. But I'm watching this on TV, and I'm looking at Randy Travis, and I'm going, you're an interesting dude. You've got a history now. You're up here, you're playing this beautiful song, and just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't your car overturned behind the Frisco Target? And
off a 380, he wrecked and drunk.
You don't know about the come on, you and I actually talked about it.
The old country song, Forever
I'm
and Ever,
gonna
Amen.
love you forever,
Stop,
and
please.
ever, amen.
No, I know
that
that we
song,
talked
right?
about somebody who was a drunk.
Yeah, he went nuts
Yeah.
like over the summer, and like 3 weeks in a row, he got alcohol-related incidents.
So he was released? to do this?
Well, he didn't kill anybody. He's just a super rich country western star who's bored at 60, and he's driving around in a pickup truck in Frisco.
Camaro.
No, well, it was a pickup truck behind the Target. It was his pickup truck that was found behind the Target at like Lebanon and the tollway up there in Frisco. And the police found this pickup truck and it was wrecked in the field behind it. It was Randy Travis's pickup truck. And he was like, yeah, he got drunk, walked home. Or whatever.
I thought he was in the Camaro when he got arrested in Aubrey, Texas.
Yeah,
like
maybe
6 months before that. Yeah.
Maybe, and then they also found him on the side of the road. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was in Aubrey. That's a great one. A driver's driving down the road, calls 911 and says there's someone laying in the side of the road, and the fire department responds and the police department responds, and it's country music legend Randy Travis.
Earlier in the show, we were trying to, or at least I was trying to convey that Texas isn't the way that you would assume.
Yeah.
It turns out it is. It's exactly the.
Hey, let me tell you something. Randy Travis has edge now. I think Randy Travis is cooler now that he's got like some edge. He was always, to me growing up, he was the quintessential white hat, yes ma'am, good old boy, well-mannered, God-fearing country legend. And now it turns out that he's got a little bit more Waylon Jennings in him than maybe he let on. And that's cool.
It was good. His performance was great. I think the tribute they did for Chris, and it was just amazing. The turnout, I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't realize it was going to be that big. But I'll tell you one major and you're going to fire off on this one. One major disappointing factor of this whole deal is the fact that our commander-in-chief was not there.
Well,
this is a war hero,
yes.
a wonderful humanitarian who continued the battle off the field.
Are you paying attention to what's going on in Washington right now? Do you know what's happening today?
Yeah, but this guy is
a little busy. Look, come on. I'm not going to go off on it. You talk about a red herring. That's a distraction. You know, it's funny. Joe Walsh, who's a congressman from Illinois, last week was challenging the White House because the president or the first lady were not going to attend the funeral in Chicago of the little girl who was shot and killed in a crossfire, the little girl who a week before had performed at the inaugural. Joe Walsh, congressman from Illinois, was saying what a disgrace it was that the president and first lady weren't going. 1 week later, the first lady attends, and Joe Walsh starts talking about what a disgrace it was that the first lady used this as an attempt to get in front of the cameras. So you can't win. Yeah. You cannot win with this stuff.
It doesn't change.
Besides, historically, let me just stop you right here. The president of the United States has never in the history of this country attended those kinds of events. That is why we have a vice president. The president of the country doesn't even attend the death of heads of state overseas. The vice president does.
What about the public address he did for Whitney Houston when she overdosed on crack?
Did he at least comment on it?
No.
Did he comment? Nothing?
No
he
public
didn't
address.
even say anything?
Nothing. No public address, no nothing.
That's pretty screwed up.
Actually, yes, he is. He's in the middle of this gunfight. He's in the middle of this big public fight about handgun control.
To bring that up at least one time. Hey,
yeah, I mean,
number one sniper,
something.
He passed. He passed.
It's much more
complicated.
On with this
kind of stuff.
Much more complicated than that. It's a red herring and a distraction to start taking pot shots. You want to take pot shots at his policies and stuff. That's different. But come on, let's stop nitpicking. Even I didn't do this to George W. Bush.
Bush would have been there.
Well, of course he would, because he's all about exploiting. He'd have been wearing a fucking flight suit, acting like he was on the raid with him. That's what Bush would have done. You kidding me? That's not a good thing.
He would have been there supporting one of his soldiers, though.
He would have turned it into
one of his soldiers.
One of his commander-in-chief.
Yeah, he was in the Champagne Corps. He never set foot once on hostile territory or did anything that was even remotely dangerous.
You're right. But as the president of the United States, he's the commander-in-chief. He's the boss of the military. When someone that elite has given so much and done so much.
We need to figure out what that means, because every time the president of the United States, especially this one, the black one, every time he makes some sort of military decision, people are quick to remind us that commander-in-chief is not a military position. Now, when it comes to other arguments,
now it's a military. You'll never hear me say that.
It isn't really. It's not in the formal chain of military command. The commander-in-chief is elected. It's a non-military. It's a civilian position.
But it's still the head motherfucker in charge.
All right. Well, really? Tell Congress. Because every time the president tries to do something, he can't do anything.
Ultimately, though, I think that the only way that, because I'm middle of the road, I could care less one way or the other politically when it comes to Barack Obama. But if you're going to, you need to mention it at least in the context of. talking to the military, the current military, saying that we need to do a better job of backing you guys.
Well, let me tell you
this.
this.
If he can't at least do that, then there is something wrong. And in the next few months, he needs to do that.
So
if he doesn't, then it's a waste.
Is he supposed to have? Well, okay, good. I'm glad you said that. Tomorrow night is his State of the Union, where he's going to lay out the next 4 years. Gun control is going to be a major part of tomorrow's speech, which is expected to go over an hour. And at the State of the Union is when they mention these kinds of things. But to actually,
bring up the military, though.
See.
I mean, you have to bring that up. Otherwise, it is a loss.
We'll see.
Of somebody that you can't fucking just let go.
But Chris Kyle is someone that we all love. He was a person that was really not that famous. He was famous around here, and he was famous in certain military circles, and he was known to be what he was. But quite honestly, my mother, living on the south side of Chicago, who reads romance novels, has no idea who Chris Kyle was. He wasn't a big star. But in death, he has become a much bigger star. In death, they've talked about him a lot on the news, and he's being raised up to the level of Pat Tillman, which, right or wrong, I don't know, but he's another one of these glorious American heroes who we need to all mourn for now because he died tragically. Well, let me direct your attention to another American hero who isn't dead, who nobody is mourning for, who could really use a lot of help, and that's the guy who pulled the trigger on Osama bin Laden. 2 years ago, this anonymous member of SEAL Team 6, was the guy that everybody in the world wanted to know. Who was the guy who pulled the trigger? Well, for obvious reasons, this guy can only be known as the shooter. He cannot be known publicly. He's an anonymous celebrity for the rest of his life, because should he become known publicly, he will then become the mark of every fundamentalist and every radical that wants to avenge the death of Osama bin Laden. And not only him, his children, his mother, his family, his cousins, anyone with his name in his hometown becomes a target. Will they blow up the mall in bumfuck Iowa or wherever the hell it is that he's from? Will they target the mall because that's his hometown? See what I mean? It's a very complicated thing for this guy. And what this guy did was pull the trigger multiple times. And he outlines the story in a book that's out. Phil Bronstein, who is the former editor of the San Francisco Chronicle and more famously known as Sharon Stone's husband. Funny sideline. Do you remember when Sharon Stone bought her husband? You guys might not remember this, but she bought him for Valentine's Day a behind-the-scenes tour of the San Francisco Zoo, and an iguana or a lizard attacked him and ate his toe.
What? No.
Sharon Stone bought her husband, Phil Bronstein, this is about 10 years ago, who at the time was the editor of the San Francisco Chronicle. She bought him for Valentine's Day a behind-the-scenes all-access tour. And while he was walking through the lizard thing, he was wearing sandals. And a lizard saw his big toe and thought it was food and attacked and ate his big toe.
Wow.
That's a little fun fact about Phil Bronstein.
Day.
Yeah, really. Wow. From your wife. Gee, thanks, honey. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, so Phil Bronstein has done a report, or I should say a profile on the shooter who's profiled in this book for Esquire magazine. And here's basically what it's about. It says here, he's the man who rolled into a bedroom in Abbottabad, Pakistan, raised his gun and shot Osama bin Laden 3 times in the forehead. Nearly 2 years later, the SEAL, Team 6 member, is a secret celebrity with nothing to show for the deed. No job, no pension, no recognition outside of a small circle of colleagues. Journalist Phil Bronstein profiled the man in the March issue of Esquire magazine, calling him only the shooter, a husband, father, and SEAL Team 6 member who says he happened to pull the trigger on the notorious terrorist. It's a detailed account of how the raid unfolded and what comes after for those involved. The headline splashed across the cover reads, "The man who killed Osama bin Laden is screwed." That's
wow.
This is a hero that wasn't lying in a box today at Cowboy Stadium, Chris Kyle, who we were all memorializing and eulogizing, and we all have great sorrow and compassion for his family. But this is a guy who's an actual hero, who, if we weren't talking about how he was broke and couldn't feed his family, and he was actually in a box, we'd all be lining up to go pay homage to the American hero who killed Osama bin Laden. But because we don't know who he is, and because he's still alive, he's just a nuisance that we have to pay a monthly check to, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to take care of him, his family. His pension is gone because he wasn't in for 20 years. After the bin Laden rescue, he had to get out. He talked about there were problems, not with him and the people that he worked with, but it just became too much of a burden for him to bear. The people that knew, it was starting to be chattered about. And as long as he was there and an active member, it would just get more and more talked about. That's the guy who shot bin Laden. And he couldn't afford that because he couldn't allow that kind of leak. He couldn't allow people to know who he was because he's got little girls to think about back in Iowa. Because he's got a mother. He's got all these family members who, if the word gets out, so he basically had to leave his job short of the 20-year mark, so he gets no pension. Because he left, he doesn't get any kind of health insurance or anything like that. He's broke. He can't get a job. He can't tell anybody. He can't tell anybody what he did in the military or who he was.
Whatever happened to the amount that was on bin Laden's head? Wasn't it like $5 million that they were going to give?
Yeah, at some point it was ridiculous, but
why not cut him a check for a fifth of it?
Because he's not an independent candidate who was just doing his job.
I know, but
that money was awarded to someone who got
somewhere.
there before our military.
Oh, is that right?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was if our military doesn't get there first and you get them, here's the award, here's the bounty. But if you're a military guy, you don't get to claim that reward. That's just all a part. It says here, Bronstein reported that the shooter was offered some witness protection from the Navy, but no such program exists yet. Here's the interesting thing about that story. The government came to him and said, hey, look, we appreciate what you did. This is all great. And, look, if you're worried, if you're a pussy, if you they're thinking, people are going to be hounding you, if you're scared, we can put you in witness protection. Totally expecting him to go, no, I don't want witness protection for my family. And he said, yeah, okay, that sounds pretty good. I'd like my family to have witness protection. And the Navy went, oh, well, we don't really have that program. We'd have to start that just for you. Well, then why the fuck did you offer it?
But this guy dropped one of the most notorious terrorists in the world in history. He shouldn't have to he shouldn't have to worry about a bill for the rest of his life. He should be taken care of.
I like the idea of him being at like a bar though, and he has witness protection. People that look like really hardcore, like security guys, and you're like, man, you must be really well off. What'd you do? And he's like, oh, nothing. Actually, can you buy me a beer? I'm kind of broke.
Yeah, I did something really cool, and if I could tell you, you'd probably buy every drink for the rest of my life. But I can't tell you, so just go on faith.
Yeah,
buy me a drink.
I'm a good guy, I promise.
Well, to speak to what Chaz said, this guy, never mind. I'm sorry. We're getting off track here. Let me go back to the story. They spent, in the case of the shooter, 16 years doing exactly what they're trained to do, which is going out on these missions, deployment after deployment, killing people on a regular basis, said Bronstein, executive chairman of the Center for Investigative Reporting. They finally get to the point where they don't want to do that anymore, talking about his decision to leave SEAL Team 6. Bronstein reported that the man left SEAL Team 6 in September. His family's health care coverage ceased because he retired before the 20-year mark. He also gets no pension. The shooter is judicious about the details of his story and hasn't been involved in dramatic books, movies, or video games that will make millions for some. It's out of loyalty to his work and concern about his family's safety, Bronstein said.
I thought he did come out with a book. Did he not?
No, there's another guy, and they'll mention him. Another guy who was in on the mission, but not the shooter. Bronstein said the shooter worries what could happen if his name went public like Matt Bissonnette, the SEAL whose identity was revealed after he published the book No Easy Day, using a pseudonym. CNN cannot verify this in Esquire or the one in Bissonnette's book. Bronstein reported that the shooter was offered some witness protection, but no such program exists. Home life is a struggle. The shooter and his wife are separated now, Bronstein wrote, although they live in the same house. Separated but too broke to get separate residences. The guy that killed bin Laden is living the hell of every married guy in America.
I'm sorry, I just can't wrap my brain around how the fact they offer you something
and it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, because they don't expect you to take it.
That's mind blowing. Right?
But they want it on the record that they offered, just in case.
And this comes down to him. Not
I would like to offer you, Jedi, after this show, a ride on my rocket ship.
Thank you, sir.
And this is because he wasn't there for the full 20 years. He was there for 16.
It's bureaucratic bullshit. Yeah, it's all.
Like, how do you not just put him at a remote area where they just, what do they call it? Where they actually try to sign you up, the enlistment agency?
Here's the problem. There are people out there who would argue.
A recruiter.
There are people out there who I think would misguidedly argue that he was just a guy that pulled the trigger. And had he gone into the room on the right, then it would have been the fourth guy in there who would have been the guy who pulled the trigger. But this guy just randomly happened to be the guy that pulled the trigger. He's no more a hero than anyone else that was there. And you would be absolutely right in saying that. I agree with you completely. Every member of that SEAL team who walked into that building with the intention of putting down Osama bin Laden is just as much a hero as the one who luckily went into that room and pulled the trigger.
They all should be taken care of.
But the difference is this. That guy did actually pull the trigger, and what that means is that now there is a bounty on his head, and it is incumbent upon us to protect that guy specifically because of who he killed for us.
No, I got you, but Jimmy has a point. Why can't he go be some recruiter somewhere back in some small little town?
Why aren't they taking care of him?
Maine.
That's the question. Why isn't he being taken care of?
Is it because... Well, number one, let's look at the whole killing of bin Laden. Why wasn't he captured? Like, why was there an order to just immediately kill the number one terrorist?
You ever seen a body? Has anybody seen a body?
Exactly.
Yeah, they destroyed the body. No, he was dumped overboard. No, he was.
And they do that all the time when they dump known terrorists into the ocean.
So that
they give a proper Muslim burial. You know, if you believe.
Huh?
They're coming for us.
Yeah, what did we just hear? Was that a car accident?
No, it's the dogs.
Oh, okay. I thought we just heard a car accident outside our door.
But yeah, if you believe that story, you know, I've got some land I want to sell you.
No, they dump his body. He's not the only one that's done this. I mean, these leaders of these fundamentalist groups, when they die, they instantly become martyrs, and wherever it is that they die, or the place of their burial, becomes a shrine.
Yeah, but come on.
So you just get rid of all of that.
Are you really saying it wasn't kind of fishy?
I believe that from a policy perspective. Yes,
I believe. I don't
fishy.
I don't go with the whole story. Like, especially, I do believe that he was shot, but I don't believe that he was thrown away at sea. I think that what are
you keeping him for?
Why wouldn't you? This is the number one most wanted killer.
So you take his brain, but the actual body gets dumped.
No, take his brain. Figure out why was he on IV treatments? How long was he on IV treatments? You can do these types of
Did he take Adderall?
Yeah, what kind of drugs was he taking?
If there was any intelligence to be gained from the body of Osama bin Laden, I promise you that there are minds better than ours that had access to it before they dumped it over. And they didn't miss anything. We're not sitting here playing. We're not experts. We can't be.
Which is why we were told that he was dumped.
Right. Well,
but
I believe he was dumped. I believe that.
It's a good story, but the truth is that there are a lot of things. Can you imagine you finally get the number one most wanted person in the entire world? You finally have him, and then all of a sudden you're like, can you imagine they get the
48 hours dump his body in the ocean?
Well, the ship gets back and you're like, oh damn, we could have done this. Dude, you don't want that to happen. You keep it. You tell everybody that we did the proper thing, but you do something there. Somebody who is way up high knows that there was a body brought back in. We got rid of it a long time ago, but we had to do some. We had to do some more stuff.
I think he's on a wall mount in the White House.
All right, well, that's all we're going to do for today. I think we've talked about enough big stories that are happening, and we've sort of introduced what the Chaz, I know that you had some things you wanted to talk about, and other things concerning legalization. This has been Legalization, or Texas. What are we calling the show?
Legalize Texas.
TLR, Texas Legalization Report.
Got it.
Oh, there we go.
Counterculture and all things charting the progress of the end of prohibition here in the great state of Texas. Be looking out for our next show, and we'll be telling you more and more as this continues forward. Jedi, anything in closing?
Man, thank you for coming out, guys. What a great show.
Jimmy Ryan, anything?
No.
How about you, Chief Chaz? Anything?
No, I'm glad to be here. Look forward to coming back.
None of us have anything.
I'm just hoping that at some point, like, I start noticing people are accidentally putting on, like, to Google TRL. And they're like, hey, Carson, where's Carson Daly?
Oh, what the hell happened to Carson Daly? Oh, my God. All right, that's it. It's Deep Ellum on air, deepellumonair.com.
Deep Ellum, on air.